Even though Halloween was like 2 weeks ago, wait. Even though Halloween was like 2 weeks ago, it is officially cold and flu season. I finally have a goddamn sneeze from wearing all these sweaters outside. That being said, speaking of how I'm sick, let's talk about how these Bethesda workers are sick of this shit. I swear to everything I love, I did not plan that. I did not plan that. Y'all just gotta clap it up for me. And look, y'all know my clap it up button rarely works, so y'all really gotta clap it up for me. For that W fire ass lean back, please. Like fuck you. For that fire ass W ass transition head. We ain't got much to talk about today, but most of the topics today aren't really gaming related, but the gaming related stuff we'll talk about first, then we'll go into the other more general technology topics. Excuse me. After failing to reach a new deal with Microsoft, Bethesda's QA workers are staging a brief strike and demanding better terms. Now, I have no prior context on this, so I don't know if this will be interesting, but due to the general nature of the topic, it being Bethesda and all, and being somewhat related to gaming, I wanted to go over it and see if there was anything worth talking about. Last year, QA testers. I do know what that is then. QA workers at Bethesda and ZeniMax. Okay, so quick synopsis. Basically, quality assurance workers, aka QA testers, in terms of video game companies, what they do is, you know how when you play a video game and it has a smooth experience, like what's the game that had a good launch recently? I don't know. Not Black Ops, because a lot of these first party games launch in shitty states. So I'm gonna use a lesser known game, Deathbound. You know how the game Deathbound, and even in the Deathbound community, there may have been an obscure glitch or two, or in my case, my computer, I fucked it up, so I literally can't run the game. There may be like obscure circumstances like that, but overall, generally speaking, if you buy Deathbound and you boot it up on your computer and you play the game is just gonna freaking work. You're not gonna have to jump through hoops and hurdles, and you're not gonna have to mod the game and freaking become a technical engineer and learn how to freaking code just to get the game to run and to change a few freaking settings. No, all you have to do is boot up the game and it just works. If you want to turn down a couple settings to make it run a bit smoother, cool, but generally speaking, it should run really smooth. Versus a game like, and this is an extreme example, but just so you have an idea of what quality assurance testers are supposed to tell the like coders and programmers to get rid of, a launch like Cyberpunk, where when that game launched, it was literally unplayable. Like there's some people I know where their game crashed like 10 times in a row while they was playing it. Like they'll boot up the game, controller in hand, they just got off the loading screen, crash. They're boot into the game, just get to the loading screen, get to the gameplay, get to the characters, the character customization menu, crash. Like, and they was playing it on PS5 at the time, which we didn't know that was a PS4 version. But still, quality assurance testers, they play games and make sure there are as few glitches and few bad quality of life design decisions in a game as possible. So quality assurance testers are an important part of a game's process, because they're the ones who tell the developers, yo, this may sound like a cool idea, this may seem like a cool idea, but when I pick up the controller and play the game, it don't feel cool. Or they're the one that go tell the developers, yo, look, for some weird reason, when I put the frame rate at 60 frames per second, the game just crashes, but if I put it at 61, the game is fine. They're the people who make it so that weird occurrences like that are less likely to happen and less likely to plague a game's ability to be played. So everybody in the game development process is important, but they're another important part of that. Workers, the largest certified video, ZeniMax, the largest certified video game union in the United States. Now that the union is putting its collective power to test in a brief strike against Bethesda and ZeniMax parent company Microsoft. ZeniMax Workers United has been attempting to negotiate a deal with Microsoft over remote work requirements while also limiting the number of outsourced quality assurance workers who can be brought in on Bethesda projects. The union didn't say who Microsoft is outsourcing quality assurance work to, but accused the company of ignoring requests to negotiate. So to give y'all a little bit of context when it comes to this part, the reason why the remote work requirements are important is because during the Corbin Blue 19 thing that happened in 2020, the same year that that Cyberpunk dropped, there was a thing that happened around the world that shut down the world. Now, this thing that shut down the world and made it so that a lot of people couldn't travel for work made a lot of companies more open to the idea of hiring remote workers. Some of those companies grossly overhired people that were harder to get into their office. So let's say your office is in New York, but you find somebody who fits the qualifications for what you're looking for best, and I don't know, Alabama. So being that this is a job that could work remotely, what they did is they said, hey, even though you're in Alabama, you get your ass on the internet, you code or do whatever you need to do for this game. Whenever we have a meeting, we hop in a Zoom meeting or Microsoft Teams or whatever the fuck they do, whichever service they use, Slack, whatever. We hop in that, we have our conversation, we go over design documents, and we tell you what's your workload for the day, and then you go do that leisurely over your day, and then all the other smaller stuff. But the main component of that is a lot of people that they hired can't physically come to the office, or is fiscally or I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, but basically their family is so rooted in this scenario, in this lifestyle, in this area, that moving is not an option. So for example, let's say all your family, your friends, and all that are set up in Alabama. Your kid goes to school in Alabama, they got friends in Alabama, your friends are in Alabama, your wife's family and your family are all in Alabama. Let's say you got your whole life set up in Alabama, you want to live in Alabama. But now the studio gets to 2023, 2024, where the world is a bit more open after the Corbin Blue 19 thing, and they just say, look, now you got to come to the office. And it's like, whoa, I got to go where? I gotta uproot and relocate my life. I gotta sell my house in Alabama, buy a new house in New York, which may be outside my price bracket range, cause pay out the money that you can make and buy a house off of in Alabama may not be able to buy a house of the same comfortability and status level in New York. And that's important when you have things like a family, kids, and whatnot, when you like got them in your life and you got to deal with them. So it's like, yo, I can't just uproot and do what I want whenever I feel like it just because I want to. That's not how my life is set up. If I got family, other things like that, and even if I don't got family and things like that, you as a company, I'm not saying you got to bend down and lick my balls clean whenever I come out the shower, but you should be like a little bit considerate of my life. So like a lot of these companies have been asking people and telling people, yo, now that the office is open, get the fuck up and come in the office, when, like the explanation I gave to you, that's not always feasible. Because at first, when I seen stuff like this and they were emphasizing remote work, I was used to the idea of people screaming to the top of their lungs, Gen Z is lazy, Gen Z don't want to work. So I thought maybe it was one of those type things. But then I learned about, like I said, how they overhired in the Corbin Blue 19 times and all the stuff I explained. And I was like, oh, now that I got that perspective, yeah, this is a pretty important thing. There's a lot of people, especially in the tech sector, that accepted a lot of remote positions that if they would have moved to where the position was in a non-remote way, they would have never accepted the job in the first place. So it's kind of like getting scammed. So let's continue though. According to QA test lead Raina, I cannot read that last name. According to QA test lead Raina, they have continually given us their first proposal again and again, and it's become obvious that our different mobilization tactics have not worked. Basically, rioting and striking is the language of the unheard. Nobody starts off with riots and strikes. That's where it escalates to. This one-day strike was called in an attempt to make Microsoft more receptive to addressing. One day is not going to cut it. You're going to strike, actually do a strike. Don't come in for work. This one-day strike was called in an attempt to make Microsoft more receptive to addressing the union's concerns. Goddamn. Striking isn't fun or ideal, but there's a satisfaction in having concrete physical action we can do to fight for better working conditions. I agree with that statement, that there is a satisfaction in having a concrete action, but that's all you're doing. Striking for one day, you're gonna feel like you did something big, but you're not. Like, I understand people got families to feed and they don't want to strike for extended periods of time because that messes with their pockets, that messes with their ability to feed their family, so on and so forth. But if you want to change, you're gonna have to take that risk and send a message. Because like nobody cares if you strike for one day. If you strike for a week, a business gotta take notice. If you strike for one day, all we gotta do is say, oh, that's your off day, or oh, you work on salary. We don't give a fuck if you don't come in for one day. The fuck? So one day is not gonna cut it, gang. That's not gonna cut it. I get it. Y'all wanna feel like y'all do something and y'all wanna show, hey, we can organize and mobilize. But that to Microsoft, you not working for one day actually benefits them. It's a little, it's not even a slap on the wrist. It's a caress on the wrist. But anyway, going back to her statement, she QA tester Linktr.ee noted that that hopefully we can convince them to stop dragging their feet and meet us at the table. They should be doing that already, but a corporation is gonna corporation. So according to Dowell, many of the QA testers were hired during, like I said, the Corbin Blue pandemic, when remote work was more prevalent. And that's also when, to give y'all some more insight, that's also when a lot of companies were getting heftier tax breaks, and then there was all types of stuff, like the most famous one because of scammers, the PPP loan. A lot of companies was just getting so much free money that they don't have to pay back hand over fist, or that if they do have to pay back, they only have to pay back under like very, very, very strict conditions, to the point to where they basically are getting free money if they got the right team on their side, which Microsoft makes billions of dollars a year. They got the right team on their side. They basically don't have to pay back, or they have to pay back so little of it. It's like a achoo. Oh shit, that's it. That's all the payment. So yeah, they were over hiring crazy. But as time went on and that money from that funding dried up, a lot of these companies started realizing, yo, we don't make enough money to have all these employees. So that's where a lot of the cutting corners and the layoff stuff comes from. Microsoft's current requirement called for QA workers to be in the office 2 days a week, while the union is asking for more flexible remote policy. Like I said a few minutes ago, that's not realistic for everybody, because, for example, even if it's something as simple as somebody who lives in Connecticut works in New York, and they worked remotely for the past 2-3 years, now all of a sudden I gotta uproot. Where's my glasses? I was hurt a little bit. And all of a sudden now, this job that for the past couple years I could just work remote, now I gotta travel, pay toll in New York every day. Because like when you're an adult, you got a budget for this stuff. Like, the adults in the audience know what I'm talking about, but you got a budget for that type of stuff. You can't just up and say, oh, now I'm spending $30 a day. Like, when you have an actual budget, $30 a day throws your whole budget off. You gotta restructure the way that you live your life, because now you gotta get up at certain times and go to an office to do things that could otherwise be done remotely. And like, when you go to the office, you don't want to, like I said, live in a place like Connecticut and then work in New York, where it's taking you 2 and 3 hours plus to get to New York, on top of paying either for the train every day or paying toll every day. So now you paying $20-$30 a day. Well, I don't know how much toll is now, but let's just say, like, back and forth, you paying $20-$30 a day. It's like, yo, what's 20 times 7? 2 times 7 is 14. You spending $140 a week now. Because let's say you making $500 a week. Before, you was making 500 a week. You could split it up however you want. You could say, okay, this amount goes to my savings. My bills cost me this amount per week, blah, blah, blah. Now, you got to redo all your numbers because now I got to spend 140 to go back and forth. And that's if you're lucky enough to live within range, even if it's an expensive range. Imagine, like I said earlier, people that got to uproot their whole life and move. That shit's not fair. That's your bad, not mine. You shouldn't have hired me for a position you wasn't ready to hire me for, but a lot of them was getting free money and they wanted to use it. Which you can't be mad at them for, but I can't be mad at you for trying to fuck me over in a situation where it's your fault I'm in a fucked situation in the first place. But, you know, shit rolls down the hill and they're not at the top of it. Microsoft current requirements for QA workers to be in office 2 days a week, blah, 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 blah. After the strike began, Microsoft issued a statement affirming the company's willingness to listen and address concerns at the bargaining table. Yeah, listen. Okay, why did it open in the same goddamn tab? Live from the picket, look, it's 11 p.m. Don't get mad at me. Live from the picket line in Rockville, Austin. Microsoft runs on outsourcing. True. Microsoft hires our contractors. Microsoft runs on outsourcing. Okay, yeah. That's just showing like what they're saying, what their signs. Oh, actually, let me read they signage. Open image, a new tab. Now we could go back. See what they're saying. Remote works, RTO, gotta go. What the fuck is RTO stand for? That I'm lost on. Are there any different signs? No, it's just those 3 signs. Oh wait, nope. Somebody made their own unique sign. We got the artist of the group, guys. Outsources threatens my job security. Word of advice for that person: don't put my, put our. Most people don't give a fuck about, and it's not to be rude. This is just telling you facts. Most people don't give a fuck about your job more than they give a fuck about their job. So if it's affecting your job, they're gonna shrug their shoulders. But if you say our job, when a person reads that, they're gonna go, oh wait, our jobs? That means it could affect me too, and it could also affect the products that I want to use. Now you're involving the person reading, and now that person reading feels a little bit more empathy than if you put my job. Because one thing I've learned in like content creation, when people click on content, and it's not even an asshole thing, it's not nothing that I'm mad at. But one thing you gotta realize is when you're making content or you're doing something, you have to involve the viewer. The viewer does not give a fuck about you or whatever the fuck you think is important. They only give a fuck about what they think is important, and if you're making content that's good, that goes along with what they think is important. That's why, for example, clickbait and Mr. Beast type thumbnails are so prevalent in the meta and whatnot, because it entertains you. It's designed to entertain you. It's designed to use all these different types of mental tricks and tactics to capture your attention, to take your attention away and sway it away from all the other thumbnails on your timeline. Point is, viewers are selfish. They don't give a fuck about you. They give a fuck about them and what they're interested in, which again, it's not a bad thing. It's just something you need to keep in mind. Quote from MS Rep to me, RE. Today's ZeniMax strike over remote work outsourcing. We respect our employees' rights to express their point of view as they have done today. We will continue to listen and address their concerns at the bargaining table. Basically, they say, yo, get back in the office and we'll talk to you about it when we talk to you about it. If the one-day strike fails to motivate Microsoft to make any concessions or changes, it could lead to a longer strike in the future. I think y'all should have started off with a week, but they have more experience in this field, so I'm gonna sit back on that one. There may be some insight I'm missing on. For now, you didn't even need the but. You could have just added a comma there for now, comma. Bethesda's upcoming games include, don't give a fuck, Indiana Jones. Something I do care a bit more about is this. Microsoft has revealed their new This Is Not an Xbox marketing campaign. And I don't know who this quote is from, so as far as I'm concerned, like, they don't give any credit as far as I'm concerned, and there's no article link. As far as I'm concerned, it is a discussing film credit. But to truly understand what an Xbox is, it is really important to understand what is not an Xbox. Now, if you're not looking at your screen, you can take a quick glance, but I'll read the text. They show a picture of an Xbox Series X, and they have in green text above it, this is an Xbox. They show a Samsung Galaxy phone and say, this is an Xbox that makes calls. They show a laptop, presumably a Microsoft laptop, that says this is an Xbox for your lap. They show a bento box that says this is a bento box. They show a Steam Deck looking type device that says this is an Xbox that tags along. They show a Fire Stick, this is an Xbox on the inside. They show a cat and like a cat box, this is a cat box. They show a VR headset, this is an Xbox that you wear. They show an Xbox Series S, this is still an Xbox. And they show a TV that like you mount on the wall and say this is an Xbox that goes on the wall. Now, some of you looking at this advertisement may be confused saying, I only see one Xbox up here. A perceptive few of you may say, I only see two Xboxes up here. Now, technically, yes, there are only two Xboxes up here. But what this advertisement is promoting is the fact that their Xbox, like their Xbox live streaming app, their Xbox like game streaming app where you can stream games to different devices. What they're trying to say is that that service can transform a device that otherwise would be too underpowered to natively handle the game, can stream games, can stream games, or in a case of a laptop, natively play games that would otherwise be Xbox exclusive. What they're trying to do is, what I would like to say is Segafy themselves, but still keep themselves in a console market. Because we just read the article yesterday, and it's probably a couple videos. Those videos are up by now, but I was just reading something yesterday that was talking about how Xbox is saying, they're like, look, listen, in the future, we want to make a handheld Xbox console that could connect to your TV in a dockable way, basically the Nintendo Switch Xbox edition. Not necessarily with Nintendo games, but they're taking the same idea, doing it. Or like what the Steam Deck does, they want to do the same thing, but just slap the Xbox logo on it. So think of a PSP, but an Xbox version of that. Not a PlayStation Portal, a PlayStation Portable. Like the old school PSP, the one that was actually good, yeah. Imagine that, but an Xbox version. That's what Xbox is going for, and that's what they're trying to say with this advertisement. So if y'all needed proof of what I was saying, that they're trying to Segafy themselves but still keep their console, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, this is proof. Now, the difference between Sega and a position they were in and Xbox and a position they're in is Sega was failing because they released two ass consoles and a console that was essentially impossible to make any fucking money off of, for the simple fact that it was so extremely easy to pirate games. So one person in the neighborhood could buy the game and everybody in the neighborhood could have the game for a way cheaper price that Sega didn't get any money from. So that's why Sega failed. Xbox, on the other hand, they're not necessarily failing, because a lot of people like have this narrative that I also like to push, that Xbox is lagging behind PlayStation, which is a true statement. But to say that Xbox as a whole is a complete failure would also be a lie, because they've sold a sizable, respectable amount of consoles. Like, let's see. How many Xbox Series Nope. So 20 million. So for the PS5, Xbox consoles I've just so 20 million. The Xbox Series X/S has sold 20 million units. So 28 over 20 million, about to break 30 million, because we're only in the middle of the console life cycle. So almost 30 million units. Now, in terms of the grand scheme of things, is that the craziest? No, because PlayStation is at 60 million units. So it's damn near, it's really a decimal, but it's basically a 2-to-1 ratio. It is twice as likely that somebody has a PlayStation over an Xbox, but it's way more likely that somebody has an Xbox than like no gaming device. And even then, like even if you do have an Xbox, you could kind of use that, like I said, with your game streaming service and whatnot, and play it on your Fire Stick. If you're in a bed and you want to prop up your phone and play some Xbox games real quick, you have the option to do that. If, let's say, you on a trip and all you got is a Fire Stick, you can stream your Xbox games. You don't have to bring your Xbox with you. Like your physical whole large Xbox, you don't have to lug it around and then plug up everything. No, just plug in a Fire Stick, connect the controller to the Fire Stick. It takes like 2 seconds. You good. MetaQuest, even easier. So my point in saying all that and bringing all that up is to say they're in a better position to Segafy themselves and get all the positives of having their cake and eat it too. Now, there are negatives and more negatives and positives to this situation, but I can't really see all of them or enough significant ones to tell me definitively where I think or give me strong thoughts or strong indicators as to whether this plan will go good or bad. Because there's things in this plan that could go good. Because like I said, for example, even though the Xbox brand is not as strong as a PlayStation or Nintendo brand right now, there's still a very, very strong brand with a very, very strong name that is way far away from having an irreparably damaged brand. Like, for example, if Sega tried to come out with a new Sega box, let's say they tried to come out with the Revelations Sega console, nobody's buying that shit. We're gonna look and be like, we remember when you did this shit with the Dreamcast. And there's a lot of fans of the Dreamcast, but there's a lot more people that's gonna say, the niggas that make Phantasy Star Online want to make I'm on my PlayStation. So they still have a strong foothold in the console community. I mean, in the console community. They still have a strong foothold in the console gaming space, is what I meant to say. So if it's any company that could pull it off, it's them. But there also might be some negatives and downsides that I don't see. Only the future will tell. I just wanted to yap about it for a minute. Only the future will tell. But something that the future doesn't have to tell is the fact that Astrobot is getting even more DLC cameos because, this is just a byline that I read that made me throw this in there. Updated credits suggest more cameo bots are coming to Astrobot in the future. And also, Thursday I didn't play it because my internet was fucked up. But today is Friday, so you know what I'm about to do? I'm about to play me some Astrobot speedrun levels. Anyway, so we'll read along, but from what I know about this topic in general is usually whenever a game company or a game IP holder, whenever an IP rights holder holds the IP rights to something, a game's credits, no matter how small the attribution is, has to list the name of that IP owner. Think of it like, imagine if every company you put money into was legally required to have a list of names of people who invested to them. So every time they have to show that list of names, the person who's looking at that list is gonna see your name. So for example, let's say there's one part where they have a TV screen where an old Final Fantasy commercial is playing in the background of a commercial for the sake of immersion. Let's say when did Final Fantasy 7 come out? So I could say the accurate year. Because I wasn't conscious back then. Also, I don't like that fucking game. FF7 release. Yeah. If I was even alive. 97. So let's say the game takes place in 1997. So they put a bunch of different commercials and stuff that references different things of that time period. And since Final Fantasy came out in 97, it was a big hit with gamers. You know, as a nod to it, they go, hey, yo, Square Enix, let's put our commercial in the background. And the credits of that game, they have to have a section where they say, hey, thank you, Square Enix, or say, hey, this commercial is belonging to this company, Square Enix. So even if the content is going to be in the game, but it's just not there and updated in yet, it's wise to just put their name in the credits so that when the content is added, you don't have to go through any extra steps. But to read on, each of the DLC stages that have been added to Astrobot have added new cameo bots, but not every intellectual property listed in the credits has been featured in the game yet. I don't like whenever people start for sentences before. For a while now, the credits have listed Rayman, Beyond Good and Evil, Assassin's Creed, and Croc Croc? Like mascot platformer Croc? Yeah, what the fuck? Yo, look at Croc. Look at Croc, that boy on the come up. Everybody else clapping up for Croc. Woo! Everybody loves a good Croc cameo, if they know the fuck he is. None of these games have featured as cameo bots in the game yet. However, as spotted on the Astrobot Reddit page, the credits were recently updated again to add Tomba Special Edition 2024 Whoopee Camp. All rights reserved, published by Limited Run Games. Who the fuck is that? That must be some indie game that, yeah, who the hell is this? The fuck is this? I need to see some gameplay. I never heard of this shit a day in my life. Tomba Special Edition, Control X, exit out. Don't give a fuck. This gameplay, like, man, what the hell is it? This gotta be a remake of a goddamn. This gotta be a remake of like a PS1 game or something like that. What the fuck is it? This is one of those obscure ass games, just like the Dice Devil game or some shit like that. Let me like and subscribe. I don't know, bro, but thank you. This gotta be one of those obscure ass games like that damn Devil Dice game that no fucking body knows about, that they referenced in Astrobot, that they're just giving props to. This means that there are now at least 5 IPs yet to be accounted for, and given that the game's DLC stages only appear to feature 2 cameo bots, they almost certainly won't all appear in today's DLC stage. Well, yesterday, and way after yesterday, if you're seeing this whenever it's uploaded. I mean, after it's uploaded. In today's DLC stage, let's look at this. Where is that at? Kojima Productions, Hideo Kojima, Ronnie, oh, there we go. Rayman, Beyond Good and Evil, Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft Entertainment, Croc, Legends of Gobs, and the Croc character. Why are they listed separately? Are there 2 separate IPs? That seems like a weird thing. And then Tomba. I feel like this last level is 9 times out of 10 gonna be Assassin's Creed. That's just what I feel. That one to me just makes the most sense. During a studio visit to Team Asobi in September, BGC was told the game was initially planned to get 5 speed. Oh, that's just repeating itself. So hey, look, like I said, I'm playing this today, so I'm gonna see whether it was Croc, whether it's Croc, Ezio, Rayman, because I don't remember Rayman being in the base game, to see whether it's Croc, Rayman, Ezio, or this Toomba Goomba, whoever the fuck character. We will definitely see. But something that I would also like to see more of is things like this, where there are games being preserved in legal, ethical ways by the company. Now, as I always say, I will never encourage piracy for the sake of cheapness, but I do encourage sailing them 7 seas. Only when it's a game that isn't easily available, or it's a game with no demo, so you have no availability to try the game or trial the game to see if you like the gameplay and you want to stick with it. So, for example, and like Steam buy it, like when I say demo, like that whole Steam buy it and return it for 2 hours, not all games demo the same. Not all games can you get a good feel for it in 2 hours or less. All right. So sometimes you need to trial a game for 5 hours. Let's say if a game is 50 hours, I think a 5-hour trial for a game fits versus a 2-hour trial. Or let's say a game is 100 hours and you want to play the game for 10 hours to see what the progression and stuff like that is like. To me, that is fine as long as you don't play a large portion of the game. Like if the game is 15 hours and you play 10 hours of it pirated, no, I don't condone that. Nah. that's stealing. Because at the end of the day, it's fuck these corporations, but you got to remember, in these corporations, there are people that are at the bottom of the hill that whenever anything bad happens, the big CEOs take a shit on their heads, and that shit rolls down the hill. So whatever second in command head ass employee gets poop on their head or is risking getting poop on their head, they're gonna step to the side and say, nah, let it roll down and hit him. Then they gonna look down, and upper management is gonna be like, nah, let it roll down and hit her. Then they gonna keep going down the line to whoever's at the bottom of the hill getting hit, get hit. So those people deserve some type of compensation. So like, I don't want to rob those people. So don't play a significant proportion. Don't play a majority of the goddamn game. Just play enough to where you could get a good feel for the game. See if you would like to continue playing the game. And if you play the game for a good 3-4 hours and you go, I don't want to play this shit anymore. This shit is just not fun to me. Then cut it the fuck off. Delete that shit off your system and go on about your day. And if you want to play it again after that point, take time out your day to wait a couple years, 2-3 years down the line till it go on sale. If you liked it but just didn't like it enough to buy it at full price, wait 2-3 years till the game is about $20-$30, then buy it then. But like piracy and other means, I don't encourage. Now the other exception is whenever a game is not legally available, because there are a lot of games, and I'll never tell you where to get none of this shit at, because I know some of you motherfuckers are gonna fuck up the method and abuse it and just look at it as free games instead of games present. Did my shit fuck up? Okay, no, it didn't. But I know a lot of you are gonna look at that shit as, oh yeah, tell me where to get the free games, tell me where to get the free games, and no, I'm not. You gotta find all that type of information out for yourself. But what I will say though is I always enjoy when companies do stuff like this and make properties and games that they don't intend to make money off of, they don't intend to support. It's fiscally irresponsible for them to support this game, because the community, the amount of money it would take to support this game is larger than the amount of money they make from this community. So doing things like this, where as the byline says, Epic let Unreal and Unreal Tournament be freely shared via the Internet Archive, things like this is a good thing that more companies should do. Ubisoft, yes, Ubisoft, y'all need to pay attention the most, because y'all getting sued for some bullshit y'all pulled that was very highly avoidable. Y'all could have had a few developers work for like 4 or 5 months, let's say, making an offline patch of your fucking game. Or just not, or not even that. You could have just not pulled the shit off of people's hard drives. Because if y'all don't remember, long story short, Ubisoft, when they did that whole thing with the crew, they didn't just take the game, take access away from the game and say you could no longer play on the online service. Like, for example, if I was to go boot up, I never deleted the Concord beta off my console, and I never will. If you go boot up the Concord beta, which I also need to hack my PS5 and ROM dump that shit to my own computer. But anyway, that's a whole nother thought. What I was originally saying though was, instead of just putting up, hey, like you can't log into this game is no longer supported, you're no longer to play on this online only game because the online servers are offline. Instead of putting a message like that and just making a game inaccessible, they went in the settings and made it so that the next time you boot it up, your PC, your Xbox, your PlayStation, whatever, the system would delete the game off of itself. That's mostly why the class action lawsuit is happening. They didn't only take away access from the game, they made the game delete off of your system. So stuff like this, where they're saying we're not making money off of this fucking game and we want to focus our efforts elsewhere, but we realize there's a strong community, we'll just give y'all this shit for free. And you know why this is a good thing? Because piracy, say it with me, piracy isn't a cheapness issue, it's always a service issue. Okay? Let me say it again. Privacy isn't a cheapness issue, it's always a service issue. Whether it be because people think your game is too expensive, or it be because like think it's too expensive and they can't afford it, or it's because people just don't like your fucking game, or your game is just so hard to access in the current legal ways that it's easier to illegally access the game. Like I was watching a video earlier today where the guy who runs the Some Ordinary Gamers channel, Mudahar, he was talking about how he legally brought the Grand Theft Auto Classic Definitive Edition, the shitty one that didn't work that came with Grand Theft Auto 3 Vice City and San Andreas. That collection that everybody dogged on for like a year straight, that recently got like a patch update that's supposed to give it some minor fixes, but it's still broken. He was doing a video where he was explaining that he legally purchased the game, and in order to functionally play the game he legally purchased, he had to go get an illegal version and modify it. And he was sitting there frustrated like, yo, why is it that I brought a game that I would have a better experience if I stole it? If I steal this game from you and mod it, I have a better experience than just hoping you fix the game. That should never be the case. Like I said, piracy isn't a cheapness issue, it's a service issue. Most of the people who pirate don't pirate because they're not willing to pay for whatever service it is. Most of the time they pirate because they think you're overcharging, or they think that it's a better experience getting it for free than paying. For example, there's plenty of people that still go to the movies. There's plenty of people that still will pay $15 to go get some tickets and see a movie in the theater on a big screen with the crazy sound system. But why do more people prefer to just 1, 2, 3 and find it on their own and watch it at home? Because you don't have to pay $33,000 for popcorn. You don't have to give up your arm for some butter on a popcorn. You don't have to give away your soul if you want to get a popcorn bucket with a size where you don't dip your hand in. Do this, and this is all the popcorn in your bucket with your fist closed. Oh, dang, I just finished that. Now you gotta get up and go ask this overworked, pissed off, lazy employee that don't want to do shit because they got a job they hate to give you some more nachos, and now you already gave them $33,000. You already drained your life savings, your check-ins, your SSI. You drained your darn all the money you had in stocks. You freaking took your grandmama's insurance money to buy this bucket of popcorn. Now you gotta go sell your soul and the soul of your firstborn child and your firstborn daughter just to get another bucket of popcorn or get some more cheese because they barely gave you any cheese the first time you went over there. People don't want to go through all of that for a movie that might be a 6 out of 10. A movie that might be a 6 out of 10. And in their opinion, might be worse than mid. Nobody wants to go to the theater and give up all of their lively, earthly, and post-lively and unearthly possessions just to fucking watch a movie that might be ass, when I can watch it in a crib while I'm cleaning up or doing something. Let's say you got Churgamins, you could put the movie on and entertain the Churgamins while you do something else. You don't gotta worry about worrying if you could leave the children in the theater alone or having to sit in the theater and watch a whack ass movie with your kids that you don't want to watch. That you could spend that time doing something better. Nobody want to go through all that. So what do? 1, 2, 3. Search, click, press play, leave it on play, and walk off and go clean the crib while they kids sit in front of the TV and do this. And that's just one example of many I can give. Point is, I just want to really emphasize, piracy isn't a cheapness issue. Piracy is a service issue. People don't have a problem paying for Disney Plus. People don't have a problem paying for, let's use HBO Max. People don't have a problem for paying for HBO Max. People have a problem paying for HBO Max, and y'all keep raising the price, and then taking off all the shows I want to watch. So I have to pay more to have less content. I'm spending more money for less content. There are certain shows where HBO Max, where the creators of the show are begging fans to watch it illegally because there's no legal way to watch it. HBO has fully finished movies that are 100% finished, movies that are done. The only thing that needed to be done with this movie is they needed to click send on the email or Dropbox link or whatever. They needed to click send to send the movie to movie theaters. They had about 5 movies that was of that status that they just said, fuck it, canceled. Fuck it, we'll cancel it. They have movies. One of the biggest examples was Black Widow. Movies that was supposed to go to theaters that they tried to use a worldwide pandemic as an excuse to say, oh, nah, we can't put it in theaters. Nobody's gonna watch it. My contract that y'all niggas signed right here says we gonna drop this shit in theaters. Fuck you mean you gonna push this shit straight to streaming? So it's like all types of fuckery involved in all these situations. Is good to see something like this. This one I more so wanted to yap about, but I don't mind skimming through the article and reading a bit about it. It's hard to convey just what a significant moment it was in 1990. Back in my day in the 90s, where whenever you had to watch a movie at the beginning, you had to hear this loud ass scary ass sound that went boom. Back when HBO was airing The Wire. Old ass nigga. When Quake 2 and Unreal came out within 6 months of each other, making Epic's entry into the graphics arms race with id Software, the two games were both utterly brilliant shooters in their own rights, but also became names behind engines on which generational games would be built. Half-Life was based on the Quake engine, while Unreal's was under the hood of Deus Ex. Now, the Quake engine in Half-Life is way more known, but a lot of people sleep on Deus Ex. That's one of those games that's a hidden classic banger. But what also made them special is that both Epic and id were developers, which by the way, yes, it is id, not ID. Epic and id were developers who grew up with an understanding of the importance of shareware, free software, and putting source code into the public domain. There's a lot of games where developers and stuff like that got their start off of shareware and things like that. Or like, even to give you an example that's close to my heart, frame makers. Y'all want to know how to make her? Y'all want to see the first game? The people are making frame makers right now. Let me show you their first game. Super Smash Bros. 1. Let me see. I might have to download this shit to play it. Oh, is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? Look, this is their first game. This is their first game. I don't care. I'm not gonna play this game for long. Continue. It was arrow keys and an OMP. Let me mute this shit for a second. One player mode, regular match, classic. This is how their first fucking game look. Look at this shit. Look at how this looks. Look, I can't even look. I gotta control the game with left and right and then O and P. Look at that. Look at how this fucking game plays. There wasn't even up Bs in this damn game. You got a fucking scroll bar on the side that scrolls to nowhere. You gotta hit continue after failing a level. Look, there's 2 Marios on the screen. I can't even tell which one is me. The fucking game completed after 2 Marios died. This game doesn't even make any sense. You wanna see what their latest project is? Where's some gameplay? Actually, no, this is a Bowler video. Shout out Bowler, but this is not what I'm looking for right now. Where's some gameplay? Dang, respectfully, but why am I not subscribed? Oh, this is my other video. Right. So just so y'all can see some gameplay, look how beautiful this game looks. Look at the beautiful sprite work, the fluid animations. the way that the characters move in different diverse ways. Now this is an earlier build, so some of the shit isn't finished, but look, they got air dashes and assist system, one-way shields and shit like that. Look at this, they have all these intricate different details. You see how that first game looked? Look at this. This game looks fucking beautiful, and this isn't even the currently updated version where the animations are more fluid and more characters are done. Even though this game's taking for fucking ever to come out, you get my point. It is very, very important for stuff like this to happen, because like these developers come from humble places. One thing that I learned in like the past couple years is, I swear, if you think I'm joking, look it up. It's something like 90% of the developers that are in high places, like the people who are working on art on like Star Wars, for example. I remember the dude who worked on, I believe it was an art direction for Star Wars Jedi, the joint with Cal Kestis. Nigga got to start on Newgrounds, the Flash animation website where people was making shitty Flash animations with crude jokes about school errors and all that. Yeah, that website. So like stuff like that and experiences like that can give people invaluable development experience that could get them in the field. So having different things like this where it has older technologies that they could break down and pick apart and look through and learn from is always cool. Like for example, one thing that one game that I know is very talked about and used as a learning lesson in the coding community is Undertale. One of the best-selling indie games of all time that I believe to this day is still an indie game. All of the text in that game is contained in one block. Like that game is coded terribly. Like if you don't understand anything about coding, you can ask somebody who's more of an expert about coding and programming than me, but just know that is one of the worst coded games of all times. That game is held together with strings, with frayed strings and bubblegum. And the game works buttery smooth. Not only does the game works buttery smooth, it gives you a good gameplay story experience, allegedly. I've never played it and probably never will. It's a fucking RPG. And it's one of the most beloved games of all time with a very, very, very extremely strong core fan base. So it's like, look, when it comes to stuff like this, it is always good to make it so that people of future generations who want to learn from it can. But it's why anyone can use those engines, and many later iterations of them are used to create their games, are free without license or restriction. Unreal Engine. Excuse me, the same Unreal Engine that Gears of War runs on? Yeah. That's popular because of Unreal Tournament. Where was I? There are many publishers who are so ludicrously obsessed with maintaining a death grip around their most ancient software that they will sue anyone that dares touch it. Nintendo! I ain't coughing, I ain't hiding nothing. Nintendo! I will bravely say it, nigga. And all attempts to preserve games they refuse to support are met with outrageous hostility for no reason other than because we fucking can. Epic, for whatever other faults you may wish to level, is not like this. And while it should be commonplace, instead it's a rare joy to see something like the 26-year-old Unreal Engine so freely and willingly shared, versus other instances like Mother 3, a game that they're never gonna re-release, remake, drop, translate, localize, none of that shit. Is still stuck on proprietary hardware. Even I think if you go to Nintendo Online and try and play Mother, you would specifically have to sign up with a Japanese account to access those Japanese games. Meanwhile, which also includes an unlocalized, untranslated in Mother 3, if I'm not mistaken. Meanwhile, the backbone of the internet, the wonderful internet archive that has been through an awful time of late, they were hacked by a bunch of dumbasses recently. In October, blah, blah, blah. You could read that part for yourself. It stores a lot of information, a lot of information, and it's the only thing like it of its kind, and a bunch of dipshit hackers hacked into it for no reason. I have another video on that topic that y'all can scroll back a couple videos and find, but hopefully I remember. If I don't and y'all care to see it, just, type in the comments, link the Internet Archive video or whatever, and I'll do so. But yeah, just in case I forget, because sometimes I'll be forgetting to link all that stuff because I'll be so in a rush to put these bitches up. At the same time, the vast monopolies that control copyrights have started turning evil eyes towards the project, with a gruesome court ruling in September rejecting the archive's appeal against a decision that would shut down its ability to lend books to its users, something triggered by the IA Internet Archive's amazing project during Corbin Blue lockdowns to allow multiple versions of the same ebook to be read by users, and a project called the National Emergency Library. Basically, this is more of rights holders being fucking grubby, because a lot of this stuff is well within their legal right, but it's like I always say, like a lot of people always say actually, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like, yeah, you can go hop off a cliff right now, but should you? I mean, unless you pour the milk in first, no, you shouldn't. Or unless you poke holes in condoms, no, you shouldn't jump off a bridge. Claiming that the goals of preserving humanity's creations are somehow a violation of their intellectual property that they really don't give a fuck about. So given all this awfulness, it's really rather wonderful to see the opposite happen. If you want to play Unreal, and according to him, you should. I mean, if you're really into FPS games and you want to see how far FPS games have came, it's fucking free and it's an easy as fuck to run game with a very strong community and a lot of mod support. So you could get a lot out of this game, or even if, like I said, you just want to boot it up and see how far FPS games have came, it's free. If you want to play Unreal, you should. And yes, it does look like some 2002 Keygen piracy site, but I promise it isn't. They don't even know what the fuck that means. And download the Unreal_gold.zip file. I've done this, virus checked it, run it, so you're all good, and it'll automatically pull the ISO files from the IA and install them on your machine without you having to go through the guff of mounting an imagery disk drive and so on and so forth. Basically, they're saying if you go to the website that is linked right here, and I'm gonna just click it so y'all could look at the link in the search bar, because I might forget to put this shit in the description. So there you go. You can look it up, oldunreal.com. Boom, you download this old Unreal zip, run the fucking game. It's not that hard. If you need instructions on that, honestly, I don't even know how the fuck you got to my video, because you have $1,000 device that you carry around in your pocket every day and you don't know how to go download a fucking zip file. That's kind of crazy. Anyway, yeah, basically they're saying you go to that site, download the fucking game. You don't have to jump through a bunch of hoops. The shit does everything for you. The same applies to the online multiplayer game Unreal Tournament. Huge kudos to Epic for being cool with this, because while it shouldn't be unusual to happily let people freely share a 3-decade-old game you don't want to sell or make money off of in any way, shape, or form anymore or in the future, is vanishingly rare. If you remain in any doubt, we just got word back from Epic. They're confirming they're on board. A spokesperson told Kotaku.com that we can confirm that Unreal 1 and Unreal Tournament are available on internetarchive.org. And people are free to independently link and play these versions. Also, give every spare penny you can. Oh, this is them saying like, whatever, if you can donate to the Internet Archive, like if you're financially able to do so, please do. And out of all the websites that people endorse, I would say this isn't the worst one to endorse, because this one is basically donating to a fucking library. Not even basically, you're literally donating to a library, so can't go wrong with that. But another thing in the lane of video game preservation that is a good thing is Good Old Gamers, GOG. They're another PC launcher. I would say that they probably are the third most PC gaming store. They're probably the third most popular PC gaming launcher, GOG. They're launching a games preservation program, and we're gonna read about it. This is not necessarily a malicious practice. Them launching the games preservation software is not necessarily a malicious practice. The linear passage of time dictates that developers move on to new projects. Basically, developers, even if they make the same shit over and over, they gotta restart making the same shit. After firmly establishing itself as a DRM-free alternative to Steam games. For those of you who don't know what DRM means, that means digital rights management. Long story short, when you're playing the game on your computer, since it's easier to pirate games on PC, they use this type of software called DRM to check and make sure you actually own the game. Now, in theory, that sounds good. In reality, a lot of the time when these companies add DRM into their games, it breaks their games and make a game that will otherwise play as smooth as possible, play like Cyberpunk. So a lot of gamers, myself included, don't really like DRM. Also, I don't like DRM because a lot of these games don't have any fucking demos and I want to try before I buy, and DRM makes it harder to release a sailor version for me to trial before I buy it. So I don't really like DRM for that reason. After firmly establishing itself as a DRM-free alternative to Steam for gaming classics, the folks at, oh yeah, that's also another thing. If you like buying older games, it's best to buy them on GOG because they actually let you pick what version, what update, what patch of the game you want to download and play. And they also give you the offline installers. For those of you who don't understand what that means, basically, when you buy games on GOG, more or less, you own them completely. You own every part of the game. You own access to every part of the game. None of that, you own access with a license shit. No, you actually own the game. At the same way you will own the game if you bought it physically, it's the digital equivalent to owning the game 100%. But GOG have helped advance the war on video game obsolescence. The core message of GOG preservation program is to keep classics working on modern computers without inconveniencing the player, while also providing accessible tech support to help smooth over any problems. Again, because I feel like today I have to give a lot of context. Again, another thing that I have to give a lot of context for. Just because a game is on PC doesn't mean it's easy to run, especially with older games. Till about 2015, gaming on a PC wasn't a primary way of gaming, so a lot of ports for PC games are not only fucking terrible and hard to run and missing a lot of quality of life features that we now have come to expect standard, they also just straight up don't work with newer OS systems that they weren't built for, especially games that were primarily sold through Games for Live. Now that service doesn't exist and there's a lot of hoops you want to jump through to play those games in modernity, something like this is very, very good. Because if you've ever tried to play an old game on your computer, like I'll say pre-2010 old, if you ever tried to play a game on PC before 2010, man, listen, actually getting one of them fucking games to run will make you wonder how the fuck you run twice as complicated modern games on your computer, on the very same computer at that. Looking at the Good Old Gamers Preservation Program page, it becomes clear that the initiative takes a two-pronged approach. Part of that effort is directed at reviving classic titles from the grave after they've become unplayable. Okay, so basically resurrecting games for the dead, and the other half is directed at maintaining games that are still functional but no longer supported by original developers, making sure the game stays playable no matter what. So like I said, adding different patches and mods so that older games that otherwise would be unplayable if you tried to run an exe with the necessary companion files would be unplayable. That's a very good thing, because again, you could look into it, you could Google it, look it up yourself, but if you ever try to play an old game on a modern console, it's a bitch and a half. The Good Old Gamers team involved in the preservation effort explains the revival process of the original Resident Evil trilogy in a blog post. According to that, the game received major improvements to the rendering, audio, to everything, while also fixing legacy bugs and introducing modern features such as VSync and cloud saves. A look at the yo, bro, it is late. It is late. I'm having a hard time reading. I'm illiterate, y'all. TP. A look at the GOG Preservation Program catalog shows a strong mix of oldies and modern classics, such as Obsidian Masterpiece and Eternal Envy from Bethesda, as well as Fallout New Vegas. Oh yeah, Fallout New Vegas is a great example. Because first off, Bethesda games never fucking work in the first place. On top of the fact that they never work, in order to get them to work, even years and years down the line, you gotta install a fuck ton of mods that you just hope work with the goddamn game. And then after you do that, now that you love the games and you're in the fandom, now you gotta install mods from other hackers, and you gotta, I mean, not hackers, technically hackers, mods from people in the community to like add extra features or add quality of life stuff, cause like them games just don't fucking work. That's another thing that keeps me away from the Fallout series. Love the lore of those games, absolutely hate the experience of trying to play one. When you open a preservation program games page such as SimCity 2000, a neat tab below the specs details what changes GOG has made since taking over the game. The most common entries are stability fixes for Windows 10 and 11 and the introduction of cloud saves. The death of media has become a continuous issue in courts lately. A pair of California gamers, for example, is suing Ubisoft for the racing game The Crew being... I talked about that earlier. Meanwhile, publishing and music conglomerates have been waging war against the Internet Archive as the project tries to keep... Basically, they're trying to keep a lot of media alive and preserved, and a lot of dickhead CEOs mad that they can't make money off this shit no more is hating and saying you can't make money off of it either. But the funny part is, it's not a for-profit organization. Internet Archive is non-profit. They legally cannot profit off of what they do. They have to spend an equal amount to what they make. So if the Internet Archive makes $5 million, they have to spend $5 million. The Internet Archive makes $6 billion. The CEO can't just magically up his payout to $5 million now. No. That nigga has to spend $5 million in the business. There's other like rules and stuff to it, but that's just not even grossly, that's the oversimplified version. Greedy companies. Efforts like GOG are often the last line of defense to keep classic games alive. Basically, you have to prey on the goodwill of men to help out people who just want to experience these old things, whether it be for research, to relive memories, to show future generations what it was like. They have to pray that somebody's nice enough to do that, because these companies are praying and they're implementing tactics that are effective at making sure that doesn't happen, especially as today's computers become increasingly less compatible, like I said, with the physical media these games shipped in originally. Yeah, PC games used to come in CDs. Steam made that obsolete. But let's keep going, man. Steam made that obsolete. Oh, this one I wanted to have a conversation about.